Love is in the air, guys, or is it? With just 48 hours to go, some people are planning grand gestures, while others are wondering if Valentine's Day is overrated. But beyond the romance, today we're shifting the conversation to a different kind of love, the love and care we give to the next generation. So later on in the show, we'll be talking about how raising children isn't just a family responsibility, it is a societal issue. From affordable daycare and early education to parental leave policies and child welfare, what does it really take to build a system that supports both children and parents in Nigeria? Are we investing enough in quality childcare services? Do some people even think quality childcare services are a thing? That conversation and more comes up in a little bit. But Tulu has a very interesting story for us to break the ice.
Do I have the story? Really? Do
yes,
I?
Yes, of course.
All right, but it's not laughing matters. Let's talk.
No, it's not.
On Tuesday, a video surfaced online showing an altercation between a lecturer and a student at the Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Unizik. Now, in the first video, we see a young lady making a video in the hallway near, apparently, a lecture room when a lecturer walks past her. Now, it seems that the situation escalated from the first video. After that first encounter, there's then another video which shows the students and the lecturer involved in some sort of struggle. So let's take a look. The two videos will come back to back.
Can you imagine?
Okay, so we'll go through their individual statements to understand their perspectives. Now, the lecturer described how things happened from his own end. He said that after he had passed her, he heard her say, "Who does this man think he is?" He went back to check if she was his student and to ensure that he wasn't in her video. Now, when he reached for her phone, she beat him on both arms. He held her left hand to stop her from escaping and said that's when she lost control. He also said that she tore his clothes, slapped and scratched his face, and went berserk. Now, she claims that he stripped her naked in the faculty.
To summarize what the student says, she claims that around 11 a.m., while recording a video with a friend near her lecture room, she felt someone push her aside, saying, "Excuse me." Thinking it was a student, she was shocked to see it was a man she didn't recognize. Later, she revealed realized it was her lecturer. Feeling disrespected and shaken, she mentioned it to a friend. Suddenly, she claimed the same man tried to grab her phone from behind. Confused and scared, she held on tightly, not understanding why he was doing this. As he kept reaching for the phone, she instinctively resisted, leading to an escalation. She later learned he was a lecturer, which shocked her, as she had never intended for the situation to get out of control. She explained that her reaction was driven by instinct and fear. No.
Who would like to go first?
I want to. I saw the video from the beginning. Honestly, we need to hold some of our girls in check. I know we're focusing on girls, and we know that there's abuse, there's intimidation, there is harassment. But there are some times that it crosses the line of disrespect. When the man even brushed her, he said, "Excuse me."
He's in the video.
Even in the video.
So she doesn't like the way he pushed her.
He didn't push her.
She was standing in the middle of the road.
Brushed her.
No, he used his hand.
Let's
replay video.
No, he used his hand.
But
she was standing in the middle of the road.
Yes, she was, okay, let's say, you can see that the man just pushed her a little and went
continued on his way.
Look at the way this girl looked at him, even if he's not the lecturer, even if he wasn't, imagine it was a parent of the child coming to the school. I don't see what warranted.
This is, you can't say she eyed him very well.
No.
Yoruba, this is
she sized him up from head to toe. I honestly, this girl should really
should be
disciplined.
Yes.
By the school. She should be disciplined.
Okay. Catherine.
I will take the road less traveled here. And I say that what we are seeing is what we are seeing. The things that go on in universities, private or public, are things that sometimes when you hear them, they are unimaginable, sometimes despicable. Some lecturers, we've had conversations, I don't know whether it's on this table or in the makeup room, we've had conversations where we see, okay, lecturers have been implicated because of the random sexual acts they have with students. That's not impossible. I'm not saying that she's right in however she reacted. I'm saying that sometimes the situations can be unclear. Maybe this is a man who has toasted her before. Someone says, yes, her mother is a lecturer in that school. Okay, fine. There are some students we know who are badly behaved. The school accepts them because the school wants to make provision for students to just be coming. We will need students in our school. You have students. Sometimes the thin line, lecturers don't really, the school authority or the school system or the board of the school doesn't really pay attention to that. In so many cases in private universities, and I speak from experience, you see the board of the school system, they want to hide a lot of things and cover a lot of things and play things down and make it not seem as serious as they are. Every little thing, people know I take it seriously because I'm like, no, if you're in tertiary institutions, the children should be allowed freedom to some level. Everybody knows how young people are with Gen Zs, are with TikTok and other social media platforms. I'm saying that probably there's a situation where perhaps the guy would have...
Well, she said she didn't know it.
Wait. Blessings hasn't spoken.
So I'm going to start by saying that we should stop when we see lecturers harassing students, right? We don't try to explain away bad behavior. I think that the same thing should apply to young, because let's not lie, the same way you're saying it's not impossible that the guy had asked out, it's not impossible that there are girls who behave like this. And if we're talking about audacity, it could be, I'm not saying it's a lie that the man has asked out, it could be that she's sleeping with him.
We're doing too many good things. We should be basing this on what is in front of us. What the video?
No. She said that there are stories, and I'm saying that.
But she said she alluded to it that she does not know him.
I'm just saying that the other possibilities that exist, are that she's sleeping with another lecturer that is giving her the audacity, or the fact that her mother is a lecturer as well.
Okay, wait, because we're doing none of this. Wait. So this video, I was watching it yesterday when my husband was speaking. I said one of the things that I didn't like. Doesn't mean I have an issue. I didn't like was that he pushed her. But that's by the way.
Because she was standing on the road.
Hello? Okay. I'm getting there. But that's why I'm saying that's by the way. He didn't shove her, no. But let me tell you, it's something that I can also possibly do as well. Because this generation or whoever is doing content creation, they're taking it to a point where they're invading public spaces and taking up people's private spaces as well. So one, I want us to break it down into what happens. And let's not do could be's. She's not alleging that he's toasted her. That's not in her statement. Let's remove it. Let's look at this situation as one situation. Let's not do all the let's not infer things. She didn't allege that he's toasted her and she has said no. She was in the hallway. I looked at this girl. I looked at the way that she looked at this man from top to bottom, and she sized him up and decided this is somebody that
she mouthed it. I saw it.
That's okay. Who is this?
We're talking a lot.
Who is this? So we need to also, the school needs to find out where the audacity to be saying who is this comes from. Because what if he was a guest lecturer? What if he was a professional? What if he was a parent? You don't know who he is. Your parents are not raising you well if that's your first response to that situation.
All right, so I hear you. If I may say something, whether we like it or not, we have different kinds of students in school. We sit on this table several times. We talk about how children are being raised. Now, this is a product of what we see. It would be rather unfair for us to generalize that most of the students of this university are like this. But whether we like it or not, we've seen people create content in some places. You guys, be honest. You've seen people that are doing content or shooting their skits or doing, you just shake your head and you move.
No. So they're different. I want to hear the end of this sentence, Catherine.
So what I'm saying is that this is one person who is a mirror of students who are like that in that school.
She's not a mirror of just students. She's a mirror of what is going on. Not all of them, but with a vast majority of children or students or people of this age range.
And let's be honest, right? It's okay for you to do your content wherever you want to, but let's not normalize you invading people's personal space. Mojibade Shosoya's YouTube, she said that she was at the immigration office. She was making a video and the guy just showed a little. He held her and almost seized her passport because he showed. So why can he not do the same? Because he said he went back to check if he was in the video. Why would you just allow other people to show?
So when I said let's break it down, that's the other part of it. He says and both of her, they both agree that he said that she should delete the video. She's asking why should she delete the video, then he now tries to grab the video. I'm not sure if he ended up managing, but there's some kind of engagement in trying to get, not video, in trying to get the phone. Then they go to the chief security house. How did me saying, please excuse you, please don't put me in your video, turn to he's trying to strip me naked? Because in the following video that we watched, she's the one holding on to him. He does
I saw videos of the
he
man's
does
hand.
acknowledge that he did hold on to
Look
her.
at how calm this
I don't
man
want us
was.
to think.
Yeah.
So she acknowledged, so the video is there. She's holding on to him. Then you're now claiming that he tried to strip
How
you
did
naked.
he do that?
Who is that? How is that happening?
Tolu, I am not going to stand for bad behavior. If this man had assaulted her, we would have spoken.
Exactly.
It would be a
We
completely
will never
different story.
condone that behavior, but we will not say because one of our girls is outrightly acting like a mad person, we are not going to call her to order. This girl should be disciplined.
And there's something she said in her statements. You know, when we talk about the fact that sometimes men use, oh, she cheated on me as a dog whistle. The girl also then said, I was afraid, I didn't know him. We know what she wrote, what she said. She's doing it as a dog whistle. The expectation is that we're going to rush to her aid because she's a young woman in a situation where she felt fear. She didn't know who the man was. You were in public. There were other students going around where, like, it makes me question things.
You see, like I said, this is not something that started today. Your students in the university, they have been doing content like this. Not only her, but I'm saying other students, Gen Zs walk around with their phones doing content. Now, I feel that there's some part of the video that we haven't seen because it doesn't make sense if she's saying that, oh, they almost told me naked, they almost did this, they almost did that. It doesn't make sense if we don't see that. But, Blessings, you say the school has issued a statement?
Well,
we'll get to that in a moment.
We're going to get to that, but then again, just like Tolu said, what we're seeing is you imagine a mother beating a child, and then you're asking the mother, what did you do to her? Like, and the child slapped her back or something. Bad behavior is bad behavior, like Lolo said. So whether or not anything happened behind closed doors, and I do not think so, because her statement about him stripping her naked came after his own statement. She wasn't saying that in the video where she held on to him. She wasn't. So it was like
the man was
trying
even
to do damage control.
I see. Let me tell you.
the video is
that man. I don't know how he stayed calm. Even he said in his
Honestly, even his
statement,
statement was smiling.
If he had done anything, they would have blamed him.
I want to take
Bad
something to
behavior is
what.
bad behavior.
Yes,
It's
but
not
I want to
something-
take something to what
it's something
Blessed,
that's
to what
happened
Catherine
over and
said.
over again
We
in the
spoke about it
school.
recently. I think it was in
Kidding.
December or November last year. Restaurants in Lagos have gotten to a point where they have areas where you can't bring your phone out and record. I went somewhere for a friend's birthday party this weekend. They had a professional camera person, and then they had everybody had their phones. There are areas in which the professional camera person could not even operate. And then beyond that, there are areas where they don't want to see your phone. Because now, other people are complaining that people are coming, you're not buying food.
Yeah.
Then you're coming and taking up space. When we went
And sometimes they put people
for
in
our
their video.
anniversary dinner. Let me tell you, we went for our anniversary dinner last year. Me and Rotimi went to one restaurant in Lagos. These girls, 3 of them, they came with ring lights. Not the ring light, the portable
There's a
one.
restaurant
So they take and you're seeing they're doing, and I don't.
No.
It's not really a big deal to me.
I agree
But at
with
the
you
point
that.
where you're now putting people in
Into a
in a
video.
public space, I have every right to say, please don't record me. Please move out of the way.
What I'm saying is aided behavior.
It's aided. It's aided and abetted behavior.
I know, but the thing is,
school,
we need to speak to these young ladies' bad behavior.
You can speak to young ladies nowadays. They're not listening to anything.
So I don't know
They
if
have
you
to
remember a
make
story
measures.
some years ago where this girl accused some guy of raping her, and the boy took his life. And she came out to
remember.
say she lied.
I remember on social media.
Yes, it was on social media. I'm not saying that the lecturer, they could have said, you shouldn't have pushed out of the door. I'm really sorry. I wanted, and if he said, I don't want to be in your video, he has a right to say that. But you went berserk, beat the man all over his body. I saw videos of the
on
man
his hand.
up close. His shirt, his outfit was torn. And you now say he tried to strip you naked.
And let's not even lie.
Why lie is lie,
If I was
please.
a student and you're
That's a
standing
lie.
on the road, I also have the right to push out of the way.
I didn't. Because we don't have time. Apparently, a student slapped her on his behalf. There's a lot to this story. A lot of it is on social media, but Blessings has details from what the university is saying.
So the Nnamdi Azikiwe University has released a statement regarding this incident. It says that the acting vice chancellor, Professor Joseph Ikeche Bello, has ordered a full-scale, transparent and unbiased investigation into the matter. Now, he says we urge all concerned parties and members of the public to remain calm as we diligently pursue the truth. University is committed to upholding discipline and decorum, and we will ensure that appropriate actions and sanctions are taken based on the outcome of the investigation. I know many will be waiting to see what the investigation finds, according to him. Now it's time to shift gears. Now, after the break, we're looking at building the future of childcare in Nigeria, and we'll be joined by Blessing Adesiyan, founder and CEO of Mother Honestly Group, who will join us shortly, so stay with us.
Welcome back to the show. For countless families and working mothers in particular in Nigeria, childcare isn't just a challenge, it's a daily struggle. With weak regulations, limited infrastructure, and little institutional support, many parents are left relying on informal, unstructured childcare arrangements that often lack safety, quality, and reliability. Truth is, the numbers don't lie. According to a National Bureau of Statistics survey for 2020, 64% of working mothers depend on unregulated childcare, while women's workforce participation stands at just about 45.6% compared to 65.6% for the men. And that's from a 2024 report from the NBS. One more for us to chew on. Unemployment among women is at 36.4%. That is even higher than the national average.
Now, the childcare crisis doesn't just affect families. It has far-reaching consequences for economic growth, gender equality, and national development. Without affordable, structured childcare, working mothers face burnout, career stagnation, and even job loss. Meanwhile, millions of domestic workers, mostly women, remain underpaid, untrained, and unprotected, reinforcing cycles of economic insecurity. Research shows that if women's workforce participation increased by just 50%, Nigeria's GDP could grow by 23% by 2025, which seems like a statistic we're not going to make, and that's from the McKinsey Global Institute. Now, joining us this morning to break it all down is Blessing Adesiyan. She's a care innovator, gender equity expert, and the founder and CEO of Mother Honestly Group. We'll explore real solutions to close the care gap and build a future where every child and every working mother, particularly with families, thrives as well. Blessing, welcome back to News Central, and welcome back to Jasiri.
Thanks for having me.
Can we still say Happy New Year? Because we haven't seen her this year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, just in February.
I'm glad to be back, and yeah, I think it's a new year, and I'm loving the fact that we are starting with care in mind.
Absolutely.
And I absolutely love Blessings because she's...
Blessing.
Blessing.
she's
Because she's such an innovator. You need to follow her on social media.
Yeah.
She really makes me question my lifestyle choices. I like when you see her in the gym.
Please stop that one. When I'm seeing her in the gym, I'm probably bringing a bagel or something to my mom. I'm like, oh, she's working out again. Meanwhile, me, I'm here.
Meanwhile, she wears so many hats. Blessing, welcome again to the show.
Thank you.
Care innovator, I like that phrase. It's not something we're familiar with. So let's talk about bridging care gap. Some people might just be hearing the term care gap or the burden of care for the first time. So what exactly, can you break it down for us? What exactly does that mean? How would you define it? And why should we be paying attention to it?
So I always say that, when it comes to how we all live our lives, care is really and truly the fundamental of all of it. From the moment a child is born, that child needs care. And throughout that child's early years, formative years, which we know that 0 to 5 is really, really important for our young kids. And then, of course, growing up. And even you and I need care. There's somebody that is probably supporting us in ensuring that our children are in school or at the daycare center, our houses are clean. And so we all need care at some point in our lives. And even when we get older, our aging parents need care. I know my dad, we had to get, someone to care for him, so that he can actually live, a longer life with dignity and respect. So if care is truly that important, why is it still an afterthought, right? And so the care gap is really basically asking us the question of how do we make sure that care is fundamental and that care is really and truly centered in how we make economic decisions, in how we make even our household decisions. And so when we talk about closing the care gap, what I'm talking about is how do we make sure that that child gets that care that they need to thrive and prosper and become, a strong and contributing member of the society later on in life? How do we make sure that women, for example, can go back to work after baby? Right? How do we make sure that dads can actually focus? I'm getting a lot of texts from dads lately in Nigeria saying, "Oh, I need a nanny. I need childcare. My housekeeper just quit." Right? So we know, that there's a care crisis, and in order for us to, to close that gap, we're going to need to talk about it. So I'm glad that we're here to have that discussion.
So I think that a lot of people do not understand that this childcare crisis in Nigeria is not just a family issue, it's an economic issue, right? So my question is, how does this affect women, mothers who would want to work, and also make ends meet? And what is the long-term consequence for the general economy of Nigeria?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we haven't talked about here in Nigeria is the fact that, one, this crisis has been silent, right? We haven't exactly, I think nobody has, like when I came to Nigeria, I was like, oh my God, what is going on? Like, there's really the childcare centers are far and few in between. I'm not talking about primary schools. I'm talking about the 0 to 5 year olds. They are ill-equipped.
Yes.
A lot of them, I think about 70% of the daycare centers, the childcare centers, are owned by private owners.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of them is just one person, and they have not been able to expand because they don't have, adequate staffing, adequate resources, adequate funding. And so these childcare centers actually don't have the tools and the resources to be able to support families holistically. And this affects not just mothers, it affects dads as well. It affects our workplaces, right? And I love the fact that, we're tying this to economic outcomes, because when a child is born and we don't have adequate care, it means that mom cannot go back to work. True. And when mom cannot go back to work, mom can no longer contribute to the economy of the household. And now mom and that household is now operating on a reduced budget, which in turn affects human capital, right, in our society, in our workplaces. And so this is why, if we know that this is not just a care crisis, it's also an economic crisis, how then can we support this, this, what I call the care economy, right? Because I think, and this is something that, I really hope that we can have here in Nigeria, where we pay attention to the care economy the same way we paid attention to the fintech, right? When we said fintech, everybody supported, surrounded the banks, our governments, everybody was like, yes, we're interested. Can we do the same thing for care? Because when we talk about care, we're talking about child care, aging care, disability care, the care workforce, the nannies and the housekeepers, and the drivers. That economy has been operating literally below surface. Can we formalize, regulate, and professionalize that workforce so that I can have access to reliable, quality, and affordable childcare?
Wow.
The things you're saying as you're talking about, making it reliable and affordable, one of the slides that we put up talked about how this is also making a lot of women have something called time poverty. And it reminds me of all those people that like to, motivational speakers who tell you, oh, we all have the same 24 hours in the day. No, we don't.
We don't.
For lots of working women out there, a lot of working mothers across the continent, the same 24 hours is not the same 24 hours that a motivational speaker, that a CEO has. But Blessing, we're going to take this up a little bit further. But before we go for that break, let's just leave the audience with this. Now, across the world, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation, OECD, women do 2 to 10 times, hear me again, 2 to 10 times more unpaid care work than men. And this expectation that women should handle caregiving is deeply ingrained in society. We'll pick up this conversation in just a moment. This is Jasiri. Stay with us.
You're still live with us on Jasiri, and we have Blessing Adesiyan, the founder and CEO of Mother Honestly Group, is still with us, and we're looking at Nigeria's childcare crisis. The questions remain: who is filling the gap? The caregiving industry in Nigeria is largely unregulated, leaving many domestic workers vulnerable to exploitation. So, Blessing, I'm going to direct this straight at you. How does the lack of proper structures and protections impact both the caregivers and the families who rely on them?
Wow. So I think that one of the things that we need to take a step back and look at here in Nigeria is the fact that we really and truly have a care workforce. Whether we like to admit it or not,
name it.
It's what I call the care workforce. And the care workforce consists of our domestic workers, whether it's a nanny or driver or housekeeper or a chef or a steward. And a number of these people, come into this job, quote unquote, they were saying a condition, right, make crayfish bend. I really don't want to be doing this. This is not what I'm meant to be doing, but I'm doing it to pass time, to make money, to at least be able to put food on the table for my family. But then what happens is that you are getting a worker that is unwilling, that is unhappy, that is disgruntled,
unmotivated,
and unmotivated, and is highly low skilled, highly untrained, because they are coming again from a very, very different reality. And so they step into our homes, and then what happens? We have an expectation, because we want to go to work. We want to hand our children over to them. We want to hand our most prized possessions to them and our household. And so there is this mismatch of two worlds. It's a very unregulated workforce, largely, unprofessionalized, because they don't have the skill set. They don't even take this as a job, right? They're like, this is what I'm just doing to pass time. So you think that you're getting a worker, but you're not really getting a worker. You're basically you might as well just go to the streets and pick up someone. And that is really what is happening. And so what we're saying is, how do we regulate this industry? This industry is ripe for regulation, period. Nigeria is going to be the third largest country in the world by 2050. We can no longer take this, lightly. And so we know that this care workforce is only going to continue to grow. And families will continue to depend on them. And if we want our society to be more productive, if we want our men and our women to actually work, and not have to be thinking about, oh my God, who is the who is at home, what are they doing to my kids, or I can't even find the right person. If we want those people to work and be able to be productive, then we need to invest in the care workforce.
Blessing, sorry, because I love the way you're saying these things. It sounds, theoretically, acceptable.
It sounds Western.
It sounds Western.
Let's say
that when you say, we need to regulate this industry, are we talking about a training school, like NCE for teachers? So this is like a school that every caregiver has to pass through. Is that the kind of regulation? So that I know that, if you don't have this certificate from this school, then you are not a trained caregiver. Because here, when we say caregiver, we would use the common parlance of house help. People that
nanny,
driver, just people that are supposed to be not so skilled, but they can just take care of children. So what kind of regulation are we really looking at? Because once the government hands enter into something, monies will be paid, certificates will be gotten, structures would need to be built, there would be penalties. So many other things would happen under that umbrella.
I think that it needs to be that we have a training school. We need to make sure that this feels and is truly a job. Let me ask you, when you go to the bank and you tell them to take care of your money, right? Who is taking care of the money? Are you not comfortable when you know that it's a professional? Or you're handing your child, your own child, the most important person or persons in your life.
Remember the hours of labor.
To someone that you don't even know what their credentials or qualifications are. Some of us don't even know where they are coming from. So there is this, other parts that we have not talked about. The vetting process that is completely non-existent. There's no vetting process in Nigeria. So you could literally be hiring somebody that just killed a child in Benue, and the person is cuddling your baby the next day.
Hold on. Remember we had a guest, the agency, the NGO that works with rehabilitating women.
Yes.
And she shared a story with us that there was one of the ladies who's coming out of jail who just called an agent that she had known before to say, she didn't tell him she's coming out of jail, but she says in about 3 months I'm going to need a place, because she needed a place to stay when she came out of jail. And that person is going to be hired. I was sharing with you guys during the break about how I found out my agent was involved in a story that made front page news in Nigeria. It was a nanny that had stolen money and stolen jewelry, and I know the agent. I've used him over the years. He was the one who placed her there because I referred the agent to a friend who who referred him to another person that she knew. And that's what we've all been doing. When you have a gap, I call my friends, guys, okay, which agents are you using now? And then they bring these girls to you. Maybe they'll come to the office, you vet them, you talk to them. They'll say, oh, I can cook, I can do this. I try to make sure that they're as schooled and educated as possible, just to make sure that there's a level in my, but everybody's not like that, and everybody doesn't take that time. So when you look at all of these blessings, we also need to look at the impact on the caregivers, because I don't want this to be a one-sided conversation. Earlier when we were talking, it also reinforces a cycle for they themselves, which they're stuck. Because they don't have any credentials, they don't have any skills, and once they leave one employer, they just go and do the same thing again.
And when you look at, the care workforce, it's mostly women. It's mostly low-income women, and it's also fundamentally, because as a society, we don't value care. Right, so we don't
value the work that women do. Anything that's associated with women,
the work women do, we don't value care. And so even when we look at the pay for the care workforce, there's a reason this workforce has not progressed, right? It's because we fundamentally believe that actually it's just cooking and cleaning. Why should I pay anyone so much money to cook and clean? And oh, by the way, women have been doing this work for ages, and women have been doing it for free. So even women, professional working families, working women expect that they will hire a nanny tomorrow and they will get away with paying, peanuts. Right? Because
you're boarding them, you're feeding them.
Where you're coming from, did you have a bed? Did you have this? Did you have that? So there's a lot of exploitation. This workforce is reeking of, low wages, long working hours, unregulated conditions.
Even meanness.
Yes, domestic violence, sexual violence. It's unimaginable. And so we need to, one, sanitize this industry, and then two, professionalize it, and three, get families, parents to understand the importance of treating these people with dignity and respect.
Yes, absolutely.
And so there needs to be, what I call a come to Jesus, right? All of us need to literally sit down and say, in order for this thing to work, I as a parent need to demonstrate my own commitment to ensuring that these people, are paid well and they are treated with respect. And then the expectation is that they would also treat me and my family well, and they have the skill set to do it. And so what we need, I think, is a training ground for our care workforce, whether that is private or public or a combination of both. I believe in private-public partnership. And that is something that we want to, through Care in Africa, we're doing a lot of work trying to work with the government to see how can we professionalize this workforce? How can we even create a tax bracket for this workforce so that this workforce can, at least we can hold, everyone here to say, all of you, if you're hiring somebody, go to the database, input the person you're hiring, give us, it needs to be paid the minimum wage or what have you, and Lagos State or Nigeria can say, we'll give them healthcare. We'll make sure their kids go to school, public schools, etc., etc. Let's have some sort of structure so that these people know that, oh, this is a job. Look at, they gave me health insurance. I have a job contract. I signed here. I did X, Y, and Z here. And they're able to then do their job properly.
I'm looking at your mouth and I'm wondering, a lot of people in this work bracket are unschooled.
True.
And many of them, there's a fundamental gap in Nigeria that some people actually believe that school is not for them. That's why they opt for maybe skills and all that. So do you think that even these care workers that you want training for would be willing? Because so many of them exist under the radar to be able to do many things. So structuring them, how would that work?
It will work. Let me tell you why it will work. So right now, we are basically operating under the impression that anybody that does not have anything to do with their life is who is coming into the workforce. But when we raise the standards, when we raise the standards, we will then be able to attract the right kind of people. Right? There's a reason, so if you hear that fintech, you are jumping there. AI, you too, you're jumping there because the standard is there. When we have the standard, we will then be able to attract the right people to these industries? Why do we think that our children, what they deserve is, just anyhowness?
But Blessing, let me interrupt you before, because Catherine has a question. As you're talking of this, I'm a parent. I'm thinking, okay, I want this person, because we've spoken about, there's so many house helps that don't understand how to do CPR.
Yeah.
They don't know Heimlich maneuver. Many of us don't even talk to them about using a fire extinguisher. How many people have fire extinguishers in the house? We don't train them on emergency procedures, and they don't come trained to us. And so when you're out of the house and you don't know anything can happen, children are children. But beyond that, I'm looking at you. Lola said, I'm looking at you. She's looking at your mouth. But somebody out there is listening to you and saying, so how much is this going to cost me? Because let's be honest, a lot of employers of care are benefiting from the fact that it is people at the bottom rungs of the ladder that they're able to pay them below minimum wage because they're not skilled. You're going to get pushed back in the skilling because people are going to think how much if I'm going to have to pay out of my pocket to have this type of people. And it doesn't help that you have an economy that has how much 60% or more of people under the poverty line.
Yeah, so and this is where I think that we need a private-public partnership. Right? So think about it. If, for example, I always like using Lagos State because we're a bit more progressive. If, for example, the state comes and says, look, we're going to work with you or work with whoever is ready to train the caregiving workforce, and we're going to set a minimum pay. We're going to tax that pay. We're going to give care workers, health insurance, et cetera, right? And all the social benefits. But what then happens is that you and I are going to go ahead and hire from this pool because guess what? We're already paying too much. Why? When you pay somebody that is not taking something as a job, within 4 or 5 months they've left. You are calling another agent. You are paying another money. You are spending. You are losing money because you now have to stay home. You are losing time. So we already. So I think this is just education. It's just care 101. In the amount of time that you have gone to another agent, you've not gone to work for the past 1 week, or you had to leave early for 2 weeks because you don't have childcare, you would have recouped that money if you just paid somebody 100,000 naira. Yeah. That person is already coming in skilled and trained. You're treating them with dignity and respect. You can retain that person for the next 3-4 years. Yeah. So I think a lot of this is private-public partnership and education. I don't believe that this cannot be done. Yeah. Okay. I really don't believe so. I think that if we look at, and this is why I always look at numbers and I look at data. Yeah. If I take the amount that these people are spending in a year on one care worker, that they think that, they are paying 30,000, 40,000 naira, and the amount of time that they are wasting, if I bring it all together, I can show you that if that person pays another care worker minimum wage 70,000, they will get the benefits and they will get more value.
I have to go on a break.
All right, let's take a short break, guys. You are with us here on Jasiri, talking about the care gap and bridging it, looking at the childcare crisis. We'll be right back. This is Jasiri. Stay with us.
All right, so very quickly, I'll just give you some statistics, and then Catherine is tumbling over. And then Catherine has, of course, a question. In some African countries, women spend up to 20% of their time on unpaid care work, while men spend just 8%. And that's a very big issue. And we talked about the fact that women around the world do between 2 to 10 times more unpaid care work than men. Catherine.
So now, piggybacking on this, how can men and employers step up to reduce this burden? Because whether we like it or not, women the workload is more on women. Data statistics have shown you can't negate that fact. A man feels he feels entitled that he is not doing a lot and the woman is doing everything. So now my question will be, how can men and employers step up to reduce this burden? And policies and cultural shifts that need to happen to create real work-life balance, what can they be? So it's like 2 questions in one.
Absolutely. So I think that when it comes to men stepping into care, we find that has been the most important need. So I think I've shared it here before that when we think about redistributing this unpaid work, there are 4 domains. It's individuals, it's government, it's markets, and it's institutions. Yeah. Institutions are workplaces, organizations, churches, etc. But then when we look at these 4 domains, who are the people that are leading in these 4 domains? The only individual we need to shift this work to is men, because women are already doing the work. Yeah. In our institutions, men are leading. Workplaces, churches, mosques, it is still our men leading in these domains. Government in Nigeria, 97% of elected officials are men. Now, lastly, markets. When we look at the markets, it is still men. Investors, VCs, who are the people? One of the biggest problems that we have is that investors are not even investing in the care economy. They don't think it's sexy.
They don't see the value.
They don't see the value. They don't understand the
need for
numbers. That's why people like me are here. Not only am I a care innovator, I'm a care economist. I'm helping them understand how this affects their bottom line, how the care economy can 10x their investment. But let's go back to this redistribution of the unpaid care work, because I really truly believe that it is if we can just get men on the table, we would have solved a lot of problems. Because men are also the one in the workplaces. They're the one approving. You go to any bank, you go to any, they're the one approving, oh yes, we do need a creche.
Which is
right? They're the one approving, signing on the dotted lines.
Parental leave.
Parental leave, they're the ones saying no, yes,
men
scrap
need
this program.
5 days, we do 2 weeks.
They are the ones. And so I always say, let's just name the issue. Let's stop dancing around, putting all this English. Let's just name the issue. And it is that our biggest opportunity to any of this, whether it's the unpaid work of women, closing the gender gap, closing, even solving for the care economy, it is really and truly men. So where can we start? I always say we start with conversations with our partners. Start at home. Start with conversations with your partner. I married a traditional Yoruba man. It was, from day one, right? It was more, he knew how to cook, he knew how to clean, but for some reason we've told our men that the minute they marry,
you don't need to do.
They do not need to do all those things. That's, the main reason. And we have Valentine's Day coming up. So this is a good time for our women. Don't just, that one-time gesture, 1 out of 365 days is not going to work. So you need to demand. Use this as an opportunity to demand for your partner to step into care. If you are in a relationship, this is an opportunity to have the conversation that, please, when we get married, what is the division of labor? What is going to be the division of labor that ensures that I can continue to live my own best life and do my own best work? How can we support each other? So we practice the 3 Ps. I posted it on my Instagram this morning. It is partnership, participation, and presence.
Love it.
That is what we need from our men, whether it's at home or in our society. 75% of the unpaid work in the home is shouldered by women, period. That is a lot.
That's, what are we eating?
That is a lot.
What is for dinner? Being sure somebody has socks. The mental load. You get home and you're doing mental labor. What's the appointment? What's the family meeting?
Meanwhile, you've been exhausted at work. Meanwhile, you are driving
the one that
when you're driving, when you're supposed to be winding down, you're thinking, what are we eating? What am I making? Which part of the house will be dirty? Which part
and then whichever day that he chooses to cook is like a romantic.
Oh my God!
And when you finish doing all of that, you are doing the dishes. He's waiting for you in the room, getting ready to.
Please, can you make that point? I don't want to be the one to say it, but when you participate and you're an active member of your household, it is easier for you to tap Madame on the shoulder and she will answer. It will be sweeter.
I think the data is there.
No, they need to hear it.
The data is there, and also so when we look at what is really happening when men don't step into care, because a lot of time people are like, what is in it for men? When we look at why, what happens when men don't step into care, men have less sex, less satisfaction in their relationship. Women are resentful of them.
Yes.
Resentful. I know a lot of women that have said, look, I can't wait for that guy to travel. Let him just go out of the country. I was in a group with some powerful women a couple of weeks ago. It was wild to me. This lady was around 65. So, she was talking about, it was vision boarding. We're in a new year. So they said, okay, what are the top 3 things that you're going to stop doing? So this lady, when she shared her own, she started crying. She said, I'm finally going to just stop packing his he travels a lot.
His luggage when he travels.
She said, I've done it for 40 years. Wow. She said, I think it's enough. The guy would just swoop in and be like, oh, I'm traveling tomorrow. And so now, it is not just the packing of the boxes. Is the box clean? Are the clothes
from the dirt?
Are they
Are the
vacuumed
suits
by
ready?
cleaner? How
Because
many
he won't
socks?
check it. He just
Depending what
assumes
you
because he
wear.
knows that.
There is a lot of mental gymnastics that is happening, not just in that moment. She's already preparing for it because she knows that this guy travels every other week.
And then he'll tell her he likes certain types of
Yes.
makeup.
So she's already preparing for it. So this woman just started bawling and crying. She said, I've done this for 65 years. I've never been able to swim. I'm finally going to learn how to swim.
Blessing, we have to end the conversation here. We have like 3 more questions left, but unfortunately we cannot get to them because of time. And that's why we always say, you're coming back, right?
Yes, you always say she's coming back.
Absolutely.
So today's conversation has just made one thing clear, that childcare isn't just a personal issue, guys. It's a national priority. From working mothers juggling multiple roles to caregivers struggling without protections, Nigeria's childcare crisis affects families, the economy, and the future of our workforce. As Blessing Adesiyan highlighted, we need bold solutions. We need better policies. We need employer support, investment in childcare infrastructure, and a cultural shift that sees caregiving as a shared responsibility. If we want a future where women thrive in the workplace, children receive quality care, caregivers are valued, then the time to act is now. Until next time, we have to go. Stay informed, stay bold, and stay just serious. Bye.